discovery. Starting your movie on a shot of the reflection of the Lincoln Memorial in a reflecting pool that somehow isn't a shot of the reflection of the Lincoln Memorial in the actual Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool. Wait, is this some brilliant visual cue that things aren't always what they seem? Don't try to outsmart me, movie. You know where that will get you. Did they run out of red carpet at the presidential red carpet store? That's a long way to walk in the grass. If you're just going to carpet the last 20 feet, why put out any at all? I'm just saying the carpet doesn't match the drapes is all.
Have you got someone to double for me there out front?
Movie acts like presidents are frequently doubled for, and by different people every time, which is categorically absurd.
Welcome home, Mr. President.
Ah, yes, 1993, when you could write fiction about a president openly flirting with a White House staff member and people still considered it fiction. This is probably animal abuse. I think the little girl is scarred, too.
When I kill something, it always dies.
Given the rest of this movie's plot, this sin is for irony. This nasty-ass water cooler. You might as well just eat a Legionnaire's disease sandwich at this point.
Oh, Mr. Gobing, it's not my fault. I learned on the IBM, okay?
Yeah.
Then they put me on the wing.
I'm not sure what IBM has to do with a clear sexual harassment charge, but fine, movie. Whatever you say.
O-K-L-A-H-O-M-A. Oh,
Not enough people talk about how genius a comedic presence Kevin Kline is, so I'm taking off a sin in hopes of making up for it a little bit. But also, how and why would the Secret Service break into his home when they could have just as easily contacted him about this meeting in some not creepy and possibly dangerous types of ways?
I'm Dwayne Stevenson with the United States Secret Service.
Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that the president routinely uses lookalikes. Let's just accept that for now. You're telling me that when they go recruiting for new lookalikes, they send 2 Secret Service agents? Not PR people, not the assistants to the chief of staff, but 2 Secret Service agents?
On occasion, for security purposes, the Secret Service hires someone to double for the president.
And while you are the closest match we've ever found, we have somehow never thought to trouble you before now. Because reasons.
I like it. You look just like him.
And when I say just like him, I mean exactly like him. I'm almost inclined to think that you're actually the same person. If your event can draw the president as a speaker, then you can afford to make your 53rd annual Patterson Dinner banner legible to everyone in attendance, and not just folks like me who have Zoom capabilities. My point is that is a tiny banner with tiny print, and you should feel bad. Setting up your final staging area in the kitchen between the sink and the refrigerator. Was there nowhere better in this suite for the final touches? Going with the open hand power gesture instead of the more likely political closed fist thumb extended forward power pump. Oh, he just did that too. Politician does the closed fist thumb extended forward power pump cliche. When he steals this ashtray, does he also think he's going to be stealing this tux? With the Secret Service. If they knew they were using a lookalike, why would they create a path out this long in front of this many people? What is the upside here? Just have him find an easy exit with just a few people between the door and the vehicle. I mean, that's what Ana de Armas does every time. As a totally random example. If these 2 discarded their clothes this quickly and haphazardly, did you really have time to stop, open, pour, and drink half a glass of champagne before hanging your panties around it? You had this entire f***ing California king bed and still chose to f*** on the goddamn floor.
Just don't call him out.
Misquoting Paul Simon.
Back to the cottage.
This is actually the kind of thing a driver does when told back to the cottage, in a calm tone, with no context, in a stretched limousine that would probably best be handled inconspicuously. Nothing to see here, just pulling a high-speed Yui for no reason whatsoever. Carry on. The president had a stroke on top of his mistress, and somehow only these 6 people in this hallway know about it. And that is the only kind of conspiracy that can actually work. The kind with very few people who need to keep their mouths shut. But, that being said, one of these nurses would definitely sell this story to a tabloid within 24 hours.
Try it out.
The president's chair should have better neck and lumbar support than this, and not even a stern look from Frank Langella could convince me otherwise.
We need them to feel like he's sitting right here in this chair.
This guy's so good at this sales job, you'd think he illegally replaced incapacitated presidents before.
What about the vice president? We didn't want to have to tell you this, Dave, but the vice president is mentally unbalanced.
This works.
Is this legal?
Dave, have you ever driven through a red light?
No! No! What kind of a dumbass question is that? Ask about breaking the speed limit or torrenting the final season of Golden Girls like a normal human being who wants to justify casual law-breaking would, you moron.
Let's say the whole country is in the car. The entire United States of America.
What, like we're all squeezed in there like some sort of buffoonish clowns in a car? Yeah, that checks out. This movie's biggest sin is that Dave ever even considers going for this ruse. He's such a pure and selfless guy, he'd run straight to the press about this shit. Honestly, the movie should have just started with him being a kind of shady impersonator doing birthday parties and quinceañeras, so we'd be more able to believe him taking this gig.
The House now classifies the president's condition as a slight circulatory problem of the head.
Wow, a slight circulatory problem with the head was also the name of my psychiatry-themed summer camp polka band.
Do you know how many different kinds of laws we've broken?
3, 5, 7.
It's simple, Alan.
Movie will now take the opportunity to lay out a grand plan and show why it will work. So I will now take the opportunity to call bullshit. The plan is to, and I quote, send the vice president to Africa or something, and to then dig up some dirt on him to force him to resign. Oh, just that. And then you have your guy nominate you as vice president? No red flags there at all.
You got the nurses for 50 grand apiece and the doctors for 100.
Like fucking hell you did.
I just hope this Yutz can pull it off.
The fuck? You will be in jail for the rest of your life if you are caught and you are just taking a shot of whiskey and leaving it up to the fates and the Yuts?
Even for a man with a minor stroke, you seem to have made a remarkable recovery.
Somehow, a full medical exam by the comatose president's actual doctor does not reveal the hoax and the fake president. And we're veering into animated movie territory as far as suspension of disbelief. But also, why isn't the president's personal physician asking why it took 36 hours after the minor stroke for him to even be able to see his patient?
Your ECG is completely normal, and your blood pressure has even gone down.
Also, strangely enough, your blood type changed overnight, so all signs point to health.
Randy.
Good morning, Mr. President. I was really worried.
I mean, I know she has to live up to her name and everything, but that's some intense neck massaging, personal space invading type contact going on there. Is she not at all worried about appearances? Is she so distraught that she's mistaken worry for lust? Is she performing for hundreds of hidden cameras on a reality show that Dave doesn't even know he's taking part in? Also, they recruited a fake president and didn't take the obvious step of also reassigning the secretary mistress? The secretress? The miscretary? Why is she still working here? They paid the nurses 50 grand and the doctor's taking care of the real patient 100 grand and they just set this woman back to her job with no explanation? She knows what the president smells and looks like in ways none of you aspirational executive staff dickheads could ever dream of. Allow me to be the person who points out to you that this woman has a computer keyboard on her desk, but no fucking monitor. The prop department went ham on this shit. Actually, the entire desk would have been fine for the character and the era until the goddamn keyboard is dropped in there.
She's Polynesian. Well, half Polynesian and half American.
It pretty much works every time, but this movie really is just Dave over-embellishing when he doesn't have to and Bob rolling his eyes every few minutes, isn't it?
I have examined him thoroughly, and I don't believe that I have ever seen the president in better shape.
His dick even grew half an inch somehow. Astonishing stuff, really. Why don't the suit makers question his new measurements? And so help me if you say he not only has an identical face to the president, but also his body is identical. How do you conduct this level of training and cutouts of the cabinet members and the signs? How does all this go unnoticed?
This is Sandra Van Oker.
With your daily White House news position.
That is very good.
I know, right? You'd almost think someone who looks exactly like the president and had all his speeches memorized would have been a bigger deal by now.
She hates me.
Yes.
Synchronized yes men.
I once caught a fish this big.
And this Dave Does President-y Things montage is going on this long.
What you don't want to do is eat donuts.
Then why are these tables the kids are sitting at stocked with them? That's just cruel. Legit shocked they let a bunch of tiny children into the room with all the decorative china and plates adorning the walls and within reach of grubby little hands. Gonna remove 2 sins right here and now for Camden Yards being one of the greatest ballparks ever built. See you in the comments, people who are wrong.
Here's the moderator, John McLaughlin.
This movie goes so hard on cameos that there are more as themselves credits than acting ones. Don't let the romantic music fool you. Let's be very clear about what is going on here. As he absolutely 100% spies on her from her own balcony, I'd like to remind you that the movie introduced him as some sort of social Jesus, working overtime to get jobs for those who might otherwise be overlooked. But I don't remember any Bible passages about Jesus peeping on Mary Magdalene's customer sessions. Here she's going to turn toward the balcony, as though she sensed she was being watched. You know, back when she was being watched, but she couldn't know or sense that, and yet movies do this all the time. I'm declaring a new cliche. The glancing at the place where someone was just surveilling me from, but after they have left, so it is empty now cliche. Yes, it's a mouthful, but I know the narrator personally, and I will smooth it over with him if it causes any issues. Holy shit. Okay, shaving carrots onto your sandwich. Holy f***, look at all this food. A whole roasted chicken, an entire ham, an entire other sliced ham, lettuce, and tomato for days, 2 jars of pickles. Why the f*** is the White House kitchen wasting all of this food? Or did the fake president pull all this shit out of the fridge before deciding what to eat?
So your job is to protect the president all the time. That's your whole job, right?
Yes.
I mean, except for that time you were sent to do presidential lookalike scouting and retrieving, and then babysitting. In fact, you've never been on actual president protection a single time in this movie. So maybe that yes should have been a sort of.
Remember that first Liberty stuff we almost got nailed on?
Yeah.
I just dumped it on him instead.
Framing people is easy. Why does the District of Columbia have its own separate license plates but not its own senators? Spelling Mr. all the way out, but abbreviating Mrs. Sexism starts young at the Helping Hand shelter.
Don't you like playing games with the other kids?
No.
You like magic?
Give a kid a second to fucking deal, man. Do you like being asked lots of questions? No? Do you like slightly fewer questions or more insulting questions? Also using magic to solve the trauma of homelessness.
Bill Mitchell.
Narrating your forgery. Also, it's insane that there are apparently no measures in place to prevent a chief of staff from forging the president's signature in the Oval Office.
You know, if you want to be the same old selfish bastard,
What the hell was that? Did she notice a difference in his presidential works package? Is he pulling a Washington monument? The movie will never address that strange glance down and stutter. She'll even admit later that the shower wasn't even a clue, and I demand to know what this look means.
I love bratwurst.
I know.
Misquoting Star Wars.
If I ran my business this way, I'd be out of business.
Does this guy even watch the news? I'm sure he math's good, but his surprise at the budget's insanity is kind of surprising.
Hey, what's with the cameras?
100th cabinet meeting. Thought it'd be a nice touch.
Oh, and also the script needed it so he couldn't sabotage Dave when he starts going rogue.
Mr. President, I don't believe that's on your agenda today.
No, it's a last-minute change, Bob.
This scene is all the awesome. Not only is it well scripted and well acted, and not only is it a classic underestimated good guy foils the arrogant bad guy with his own words, but it also almost makes you believe the government could actually work for the people it's meant to serve. And now I'm just mad at real reality for not being more like fake reality.
Unfortunately, money management's only going to get us halfway to our goal.
To go the rest of the way, we're all going to have to sell our bodies.
5, carry the 1.
Is he doing hand math to calculate hundreds of millions of dollars? Calculators do exist. I'm not buying that this crew would be this thrilled that they just had their individual programs cut. I get performing for the cameras, but I think the movie wants us to believe this is genuine, and I'm just not ready to be quite that naive yet.
You can't kill a president.
There is indisputable evidence that this statement is not true.
Then we'll all go to jail together.
What a stupid time and place to be having this conversation.
This could get me into a lot of trouble.
Sure, but the good thing is you're literally the only Secret Service agent around 24/7, so thanks to the fact that you apparently never sleep or take breaks, I don't think you have to worry too much. Why does this super secret presidential storage vault have a waiting room with 3 chairs? Why does it have a waiting room at all? Why are they keeping him all the way over on the far side of this bunker? If he codes, that nurse has to run 30 unnecessary paces before she can do shit all.
Where's home?
look, can we stop with the 20 questions?
I know, right? You'd think Dave would maybe give you some space after learning that your husband is in a coma before rocketing headlong into the ASL chat. What a dick.
How are you going to get home?
She's the first lady, you moron. She has options. Stop hitting on the grieving widow of the man whose life you stole.
We did our Club Med routine.
The movie will now do the entire Club Med routine for all the some time. The cop immediately recognized him, but then Dave is just popping into a local grocery and people aren't freaking out about the president being there.
I mean, I assume you're married.
I only ask because I recently found out my husband is pretty much dead and you look exactly like him, so now I get the looks and all new personality features. This movie is so f***ing weird when you actually think about it.
I mean, if you had one more chance to be president, what would you do then?
I'd give all the sins back if he responded, well, that Randy gal is pretty hot. I'd like to take her for a spin. Also, maybe some special interest group money. That seems fun. Oh, for f***'s sake. The same night she finds out he's been conning her and she's giving him googly eyes. Was it the sandwich? I need that recipe immediately.
What do you think you're doing?
You mean the press conference? I have a couple of ideas I wanted to share with the country.
We all understand that the second Dave and Ellen decided to run this con for good, they are deliberately committing a felony, right? I know the movie wants us to think it's okay, because it's for good, but I think I'm still in the don't run the country if you weren't elected to camp.
You're licked. You're a flea.
I just realized this is the same dilemma the great Danton had when he too hired a lookalike to complete his complicated illusion only to have the lookalike turn the screws on him. So my point is that the Prestige is just one big Dave ripoff.
Don't touch anything on that desk.
And despite knowing that Bob is a power-hungry and very angry asshole, Dave leaves him alone in the Oval Office and doesn't have him escorted out.
From today, I'm going to make it the responsibility of this government to find a job for every American who wants one.
Nice! And also a platitude that many presidents and leaders have already said. Look, I'm not here to tell you how or why the job market and workers' rights are complex issues, but I am here to tell you that this pie-eyed, simplistic tone that Dave is espousing is exactly the same bullshit that Bill would have said. And the only difference is that he means it, which will not make it any easier to accomplish.
If you look at a photograph of Bill Mitchell taken before the stroke and one right after,
What?
you will see distinct
differences.
This is hilarious, and kudos to Oliver Stone for aping his own persona here, but this movie is suggesting that the differences between Bill and Dave are so slight that only a raging conspiracy theorist could even claim to see them. Can you explain to me why Bill Mitchell, who was sleeping around on his wife regularly, and she even knew about it, and they were so separated they rarely saw each other, would keep a photo of him and his bride by his bedside? Is it to keep up appearances for all the no one, barring select high-level White House staff, that ever goes in his private bedroom? As the First Lady sings Tomorrow into her pillow, I have to note that she has adjusted to her real husband's surprising stroke coma remarkably well, given this is only 24 hours later. Sudden Sir Ben Kingsley 90 minutes in.
I didn't have anything to do with this First Liberty nonsense, and you know it.
First Liberty.
I know he has other stuff on his mind, but how does Dave have no clue that the Vice President of the United States is involved in a big scandal right now? How has no one prepped him on this?
I think you better take a look at this.
Cliche. Also, the fact that from wherever she was, she knew these two were in here, and got to them this quickly, and knew exactly where the remote was, and the channel was already correct, is about 5 Francis Scott Key Memorial Bridges too far.
And I got people up on the hill who were talking impeachment.
Remember when that was shocking? Before this movie, it had only happened once in 1868. After this movie, it's happened 3 times. Coincidence? This motherfucker is watching Jay goddamn Leno in the Oval Office. If you have to watch garbage, you don't do it in the highest office in the land with the door open so people can see you.
May I come in?
You're already in, but the door was open, so. This cut from the Washington Monument to them standing together on the balcony is weird as She's holding a single flower and wearing a nightgown. There was definitely a scene film that takes place prior to this and explains the situation, but it was left on the cutting room floor.
Vice President's a good man, isn't he?
It's just a random thought I had just now while we are standing here for no real reason. Hey, is that flower for me? I love how Ben Stein said, "You want me to appear as myself attending a party held by a corrupt Republican?" Sure.
I think there are certain things you should expect from your president.
Is he going to say that one of them is that the president was actually elected? No? Is that a little too honest for him? The whole thing not part of this man of integrity speech? Oh, you're going to fake a stroke and sneak out like the lying jerk face you are. I've watched this ambulance scene over and over again, and I can't figure out what the plan was here, because this was such a public event, and the press followed them all the way here. There was no place to make a covert switch of any sort, so I guess that means the OG press, who by the way was on life support, was already in there? But where? They had to move the Dave stretcher in without Bill being seen in any way, so he had to be hidden somewhere. Plus, even though constant companion Dwayne takes the driver's seat after the unloading of the actual president, it's a regular ambulance driver who enters the ambulance when it takes off. I think the movie wants this to be a simple switcheroo, but there has to be so much more to it than that. Also, no one sees this guy who looks exactly like the president through a window that is not tinted in the slightest. Certainly at least Oliver Stone would have noticed.
Dave, I would have taken a bullet.
Secret Service, skip. Good thing for this shot that someone is using a giant spotlight behind that bush for some sort of reasons.
Vice President Gary Nance was officially sworn in today as the 45th President of the United States.
Yep, 45 is going to be the most integrity-ing president to ever integrity. Yeah, this relationship is I feel like her character was like, I was already previously attracted to his physical form, and I just don't buy this ending up together scene here, since they had literally one bonding scene in the whole movie.
You're going to spend the next 3 months going blind on paperwork because a signalman second class bought and smoked a dime bag of oregano.
My wife.
My wife!
The guy's in a coma, Bob.
I don't give a shit.
Bob!
I see you standing over the grave of another dead president.
And you don't respect the chair.
Have you ever driven through a red light?
Is it wrong to steal a loaf of bread to feed your starving family? And what if your family don't like bread? They like cigarettes.
How's the peeping? Tommy, how's the peeping?
You like magic?
I really hate magic. You me too.
Call Bob. Call Alan, tell him I want to see them right now.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
You're licked. You're a flea. You're a blip.
How dare you come into this office and bark at me like some little junkyard dog?
For the record, yes, I am a card-carrying member of the ACLU. But the more important question is, why aren't you, Bob?
As all of you know, my former chief of staff has implicated me in a scandal. Well,